All right, so it is 9 o'clock on Friday morning, January 9th, and I'd like to go ahead and call the meeting to order. I know folks are still filtering in, but we have a lot on our agenda. Hopefully my voice will last for the entire meeting. I got to spend my entire break with the flu, so I am glad it is a new year, and I still sound like a frog, but I don't feel like one, so life is good. So Happy New Year to everyone. I hope most folks were able to enjoy the break. We are doing a Zoom-only meeting today. We did not have a room available, and there are also just too many viruses roaming around, and I don't think we really need to share that with anyone. So I hope everyone stays well this weekend. We will be returning to hybrid meetings in February. We are finalizing our locations. Unfortunately, the fabulous School of Pharmacy is not available this semester. So we will be in an alternate location, and I'll have confirmation of that before the end of January. I don't know if Hannah Flory is on at the moment, but she shared with me earlier this week that she has taken on a new opportunity and will no longer be able to join us for the forum. So congratulations, Hannah, and we wish you well. We will definitely miss you. All right. Upcoming meetings. We have an executive committee meeting on Tuesday, January 20th, a tentative stack meeting scheduled for Wednesday, February 4th, and our next full body meeting will be Friday, February 6th at 9 a.m. So I'm hoping to see most of you at those meetings. Without further ado, and I know we are a little bit early, but since I see Provost Dean online, and I know that it is an exceptionally busy time of year, given that classes for undergrad started 2 days ago. The law school's been in session since Monday. So I do know it's been a bit of a crazy week. So I appreciate Provost Dean joining us, and I'll go ahead and turn the table over to you, sir.
Sorry, I made the rookie mistake of being muted. Only my 1000th Zoom call to make that mistake. So welcome back, everyone, and Happy New Year. I hope you all had a restful break with your loved ones. I certainly did. Spent a lot of time with my wife and daughters and grandchildren, and it was really enjoyable. Some positive news: just before the break, we were able to notify our in-state early applicants of their admission to Carolina. We did that about 1 month earlier than previous years. I think everybody feels really good about being able to do that so much earlier before the holidays. We received a record number of early action applications from North Carolina. If you're interested in the number, it's 14,931. So we had that many early action applications just from North Carolina alone. And we admitted students from all 100 counties. I think last year we admitted students from 97 or 98 or maybe even 99. But this year we've at least admitted students from all 100 counties now. Whether all 100 counties show up here in the fall, we'll see. As Rebecca said, we're now fully back for the semester. The first day of classes was Wednesday. I had forgotten that the students lined up to drink from the old well in the spring semester as well as the fall semester. So they were lined up across the street from South Building pretty much all day. And I guess they're all hoping that that drink will allow them to get very high grades this semester. And I hope that's true as well. We haven't had an awful lot happen yet in the brand new semester, 2 days old, but I'll speak on a few items before taking questions. One thing that I know is on some of your minds. I know there's been a lot of discussion about the centers and institutes being impacted by budget cuts. The university announced last July a plan which was requested by the Board of Trustees to find $70 million in savings in our budget, which included $7 million from savings from centers and institutes. A list of 6 area study centers in the College of Arts and Sciences was recently released as some that will be sunset. While those centers will close, we're working to try and preserve, to the extent possible, the important activities of those centers, partly by moving them into academic departments, which we hope will mean that we can continue many of the most important activities while saving money on the administrative costs associated with those centers. A full list of centers and institutes that will be impacted is still pending. It's something we're still working on, but we expect to be able to announce those in the coming weeks. And a lot of people have wondered what they've been evaluated on. A number of important considerations, including, importantly, their long-term financial viability and the percentage of revenue that they have that comes from state sources as opposed to external sources. We, of course, recognize the value that these centers and institutes have for our students, faculty, and staff. And as soon as we have additional information on how our centers and institutes and the people involved with them will be impacted, we will share it right away. Recently, new topic, recently the UNC System Office instituted a new policy requiring that course syllabi be made publicly available effective January 15th, so next week. UNC-Chapel Hill had previously maintained the syllabi are the intellectual property of our faculty members, and we've been operating under that policy for some time. That position, that determination has now been superseded by the new system policy. So we no longer are able to say, protect those syllabi, saying that they're intellectual property. So my office has been working with the Public Records Office and the University Council to determine what are the next steps to make sure that we comply with this policy and communicate clearly with our academic leaders about what they can expect. So for those of you who haven't spent a lot of time thinking about that policy, which I'm going to guess is most of you, there's sort of two parts to it. One is starting next week, we will be required to make available syllabi that are requested under the public records request. And we have a process for doing that, working with the Office of University Counsel. In the fall, there's an additional requirement in the fall semester to create what they're calling a repository of syllabi, which means that they'll be searchable and findable and so on, so that the syllabi are effectively, preemptively made public. So I'm working with the deans now. We had just a meeting about this yesterday. I've sent them a policy, sent them some explanations so that they'll know what the requirements are now and what they will be into the future. New topic. So this year marks the 45th anniversary of Carolina's Martin Luther King Jr. Week of Celebration. And I hope you'll have the chance to join one of the many events happening the week of January 18th. I know those events are meaningful to a lot of people on campus. Of course, we're looking forward to welcoming our new provost, Magnus Agerstedt, to Carolina in March. I know he's eager to get to know this group. In fact, I think he said that he's scheduled to meet with you shortly after he starts. I spoke with him yesterday. We have regular Zoom calls. He's excited to jump into the role. So Magnus is really an impressive guy. I think he was a great choice for provost. I'm doing everything I can with my team to prepare him for the role, get him oriented and onboarded and so on. And I'm very optimistic about his success. And he's very enthusiastic about working with you as well. So I'll end my prepared comments by saying I hope your semester is off to a great start. And I'm happy to take questions now. So Rebecca, will you facilitate that process?
Sure, I'd be happy to. I do know we have some in the chat, so I'll go ahead and start with those and keep an eye out on any hands that come up. There is a question about related to the centers. What about the recent external audit that indicated that we aren't in a deficit and that $7 million in savings did not need to be identified or cut?
Yeah, we're working under requirements that have been placed upon us by the Board of Trustees, who have made their own judgments about our financial situation. They have requested that we make these cuts, and we don't really have any choice but to go along with that.
Okay. In relation to the closure of centers and the possibility of some of those activities being shifted to academic departments, is the plan to add tasks to existing staff outside of those centers, despite the months of us telling leaders that we are overworked and burning out?
I'm sorry, could you say the last part again, Rebecca? I didn't follow that.
Sure. So the concern is that the closure of the centers and the shift of activities to academic departments will place an additional burden on already overworked and burned out staff. And so I guess the question seems to be more along the lines of how is that shift going to really work in terms of further overburdening existing staff?
Okay, thanks for that. Now I understand. I certainly do understand the concern. We have not made plans at that level of detail yet, so I can't really answer that question, but I do understand the concern.
Okay. And so I guess along with that, and this is me kind of talking from that, the closure of the centers, does that mean that individuals in the centers will also be shifted to existing departments, those staff being moved as opposed to being let go? Or is that something you have information on yet?
No, we haven't really made that level of detailed plans at this point.
Okay. Next question. In a time where budget cuts are being identified and prioritized, is the UNC system taking on the responsibility of potentially funding and creating that database for syllabi to be uploaded and made available? And how is that being paid for?
I have not seen anything from the UNC system that says that they're going to do that. I wouldn't rule it out that they would, but my understanding right now is that that's something that we'll need to do. I guess I would say in speaking with the deans and also with Mike Barker from ITS about this, that a lot of syllabi are already collected by deans for accreditation purposes and other purposes. So we actually have a lot of this already. It's not like 0 to 60. We're already doing a lot of it, but and we have some tools to be able to do it. So I'm not sure that there's going to be a huge financial consideration associated with this. That's a good question, though. I like that. Thank you.
Sure. Next question, and I know Vice Chancellor Knuffman couldn't be here this morning, but the question is about the rebranding that we had done regarding how much that rebranding cost the university.
Yeah, the rebranding meaning using the new logo and so on.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't have that information. I'm sorry. That would be a good question for Nate or perhaps for Dean Stoyer and Head of Communications.
Okay, I will pass it along to them. And Julie, I'll get that answer to you. Next question. The centers have been here for decades and have been supported by past administrations. Several of them bring in a lot of grant and contract funds, and several are also nationally recognized. Why does the administration all of a sudden think they're not a good return on investment? Does this administration know something past administrations didn't? Title VI is coming back under the State Department, and we could apply again if we still have centers. It seems like a completely uninformed decision. They have also played an important role and provided effort on orienting international students. How will that be done now?
Right. As I said, I appreciate the question. We're trying to work out the details of how we can do the most important things that the centers do. And we don't have all those details yet. I don't know what's going to happen with Title VI. I have no idea whether it's going to come back or not. I guess the comparison to past administrations is that I'm not sure we've ever been under the kind of financial pressure that we're under now with uncertainty from state funding. We still don't have a state budget. The federal budget for research has been cut. We're not sure what's going to happen there. So we're having to make harder decisions, I think, than have had to be made in the past. No one's particularly happy about it. It's unfortunately what we need to do to lead the university at this point.
And related to that, is there a timeline for those having that level of detail? And will that be shared with the campus before it's shared with the media?
Yes, and yes. We're hoping to have this sorted out by the end of January.
Okay. Thank you. Let's see. Let me see which ones I've missed. I think that's all the questions I see in the chat at the moment. Are there any other questions from members online?
I have one, Rebecca, another one, just as a follow-up, because
Sure.
most of these questions were, I don't know the answer right now. Do we have a timeline on when some of these questions may be answered from
Uh,
the university administration?
yes, we're hoping to have answers to just about all these questions by the end of January.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Got another question that popped up in the chat. And it may be a Nate question. It's getting more and more difficult to explain to the employees in our grounds department why we are still not able to use our promised break room and training trailer. I believe this is at Carolina North. In the spring, we were told we would have to escape the heat of the summer. In the end of summer, we were told we would have it to get out of the cold. We are getting tired of being asked to work and having empty promises.
I'm going to have to confess I have no idea what that question is about.
Okay,
I'm sorry I can't be helpful on that.
I will pass that one along to Nate because I do know that he's aware of that one. Jot that down. Has the Chancellor's office received any indication of the state budget being passed and any anticipated pay raises? I do know that the General Assembly is not in session this week, but I don't know if there is any additional information that you may have on that.
I've not heard anything about pay raises coming from the General Assembly or the legislature. When I ask the people who are much closer to it than I am, they don't seem to know. My understanding is that there's uh, conversations going on between the House and the Senate in Raleigh, and that the differences in approach between the House and the Senate seem to explain the fact that we don't have a budget and that there's been delays and so on. And I think you'd have to be in some very particular rooms to have any accurate information about what's actually going on there.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Is there a reason that Chapel Hill is not allowing reclassifications and raises, whereas almost all other universities in the system are?
Hey, Rebecca, I can take that one.
Okay,
Jim,
thanks, Linc.
this is Linc. That's not actually accurate. There are no prohibitions on reclassifications or raises. There are certain levels of approval we may have to seek external to the university. For example, depending on the type of action or the amount of the increase being requested, we might have to go to the UNC system office for certain types of actions, but there's no across the board prohibition on reclassifications or raises.
And if staff are hearing that from their managers, what is their recourse?
I would encourage them to reach out to their HR officers for their respective units to talk with them directly because they can provide them information on what the current landscape is.
And it appears that some have done that, according to what I'm seeing in the chat, and that the
Okay.
HR department in their department is saying that they're not allowed. So
Well, I would ask Lisa if you would be willing to reach out to me directly, email. I'd happy to talk about what your current experience is and then figure out what we can do to help.
Thanks, Linc.
I have a follow-up question to that, Rebecca, if I may, since Linc jumped in, because I'm bringing this from my group and it's along those lines. When they were doing the SHRA to EHRA transition, we were told that salary band adjustments would occur and that switching classifications would result in about a $6,000 raise for us in our current job. However, we all stayed at the exact same salary, and we've been told nothing could happen. that they would ask, but nothing's not that they can't guarantee anything. So we're all very curious, and we had a group discussion about this yesterday in our team meeting.
Yeah, Julie, I'm not sure where that information came from. I'd be very curious about it because during that process, one of the things that's usually part of that is if an employee whose SHRA is already eligible for their longevity pay,
Hmm.
that typically is something that's allowed to be moved into the base if they
Okay,
choose to
right,
convert to EHRA.
right.
But that $6,000 figure is not something I've heard before. So Julie, again, I'd be happy to talk with you directly offline to figure out,
Okay.
where
Yeah,
that came from and
thank
see
you.
what
I'll
we
see if
can
I
do
can set
there.
up a meeting with you and my
Yeah, happy
team.
to. Sounds
Perfect.
good.
Thank you so much, Linc.
Natasha?
Hey, Provostine, my question, I'll name is very like overarching, a little bit long term. So I know a few months ago, the announcement of the new creation of I guess like the merging of the data science school and some of the AI priorities and things like that were announced. And I think with the next provost coming in as well, having a background in engineering, I think there's maybe some chatter about is there potential, are we going to get an engineering school, things like that. Can you talk just like a little bit high level about one, maybe what that timeline looks like for that creation of the new AI data school to be created, and then if it is a priority in the provost's office for an engineering school to come to Carolina?
Okay, thanks for that, Natasha. I appreciate the question. So the planning for the new school is going on now. I just met with the dean of SDSS and the interim dean of SILS yesterday as part of our dean's meeting and asked them to talk about progress. They have a set of committees that they've created, faculty and staff who are working on a whole set of issues about what the new school will look like. Everything from literally the name of the school to the organization structure of the school to various policies, for example, tenure and so on. And there's some groups trying to think about how to build a community of a joint school or a new school from the two communities that we have now. The plan that we have is that the new school will come into being officially at the beginning of the next academic and fiscal year, which would be July 1st. And there's a fair amount of work to be done by then, but I'm optimistic, and the people who are doing the work are optimistic about being able to get that done. So the second part of your question is at least tangentially related to that, which is what about engineering at UNC? So we have a number of programs at UNC which are either literally named engineering of some kind or adjacent to engineering. So an
Sure.
example of the first would be biomedical engineering,
Mm-hmm.
which is a joint program of the College of Arts and Sciences, the School of Medicine, and NC State University's College of Engineering. We have within the College of Arts and Sciences Applied Physical Sciences, which is engineering in just about everything except name.
Okay.
There are other programs in, for example, public health that we're moving toward. Certainly in computer science is one click away from computer engineering. At this point, the UNC system, which makes the decisions about what we can do and what we can't do in these spaces, has not granted us the ability to create a school of engineering,
Okay.
or in some cases to change what are called SIP codes, not ZIP, but CIP codes, in order to say that we are officially doing engineering in a number of ways. So we're on hold for that. We're in conversations with the system and President Hans about that. But so far that permission has not been granted.
Awesome. Thank you.
Sure. Thanks for the question.
Jumping back to the syllabi and the repository that's going to be required beginning in the fall semester, how much detail? I mean, are the syllabi going to include professor names, professor contact information? I guess my concern, I teach as an adjunct every now and then, so it's not a huge concern for me personally. Plus, what I teach is not controversial, I don't think. I'll wait and see. But I guess one of my concerns is, if folks are searching this and looking for problems, and the potential harassment of professors and their staff members who are usually the front line to receive phone calls or people coming in and asking for more information. What protections are going to be in place for that, or instructions to staff on how to respond to inquiries?
Yeah, it's an excellent question, Rebecca. It's something we've certainly thought about, and the system in promulgating the policy has thought about that as well. Probably the most important thing to know is that the required information to be on a syllabus under the new policy. So let me just back up and say that the system has decided that syllabi are public records that can be requested. That's probably the biggest central change associated with this. In the policy that the system has published and goes into effect, as I said, on January 15th, they have identified 5 elements of a syllabus that need to be made public. And they're the most basic elements. I don't have the document in front of me, but what are the dates that various topics will be included? What are the grading criteria? What is the purpose of the course? Some really basic things like that. And so I think that as we begin to comply with the new policy, that syllabi will probably become much more focused on those central elements of what's being requested. A lot of times now, and I don't actually see a lot of syllabi, but I talked with the deans about this yesterday, and they said that a lot of syllabi have a lot of extraneous information, which isn't required to be in the syllabus based on the new policy, and that that will likely be removed from the syllabus that is a public record. And I actually have questions into our legal team right now around exactly that. So we don't have all the answers. But I guess one more thing that I'll say is that 2 things really. One is the vast majority of the syllabi produced by faculty at UNC-Chapel Hill are absolutely uncontroversial. Just think about the subject areas that we teach in. Many of them, math, physics, I could go on, but I'm sure you get the point. Probably well over 90% are you'd have to really stretch to find any kind of political or ideological content in there. That's the first thing. The second thing, as I've said many times, is that's cold comfort if you're one of the people who is in an area which could be seen as being political. So the one that has come up a number of times, even with respect to the DEI policy, is in public health. So people in public health do research and do teaching around health disparities, which is an important part of the enterprise of public health research. And I know that sometimes those have been questioned from the standpoint of, are we compliant with DEI? And I'm sure that's something that people are going to be asking about with the new syllabi policy. And so that's going to remain to be sorted through. There's been issues in social work as well that we're going to have to work through. So it's early days. But there is also, I should say, there is also a policy or a component of the policy that gives faculty the opportunity to request from the Provost and the Office of General Counsel that certain elements of the syllabus be redacted from public records based on intellectual property rules. And so we're still working on exactly how to do that. But that's an important part of the policy as well. And that's one of the ways that we can try and protect faculty.
I'm following up on that, and I'll get to the 2 hands in just a moment, but the comments, and Elizabeth, actually, I think this may be your comment. So Elizabeth, I'll go ahead and let you take your question live.
Thank you, Rebecca. I guess I've already put the question there. I also want to put a response to what I just heard, and I understand the tightrope that our leadership in the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill must walk. I'm very concerned as a delegate, as a staff, as a graduate of UNC, as a child of faculty, as a long-term resident and participant in all this university is and has to offer, that this is a threat to our humanities I'm putting up there in that question. I don't just mean what's going to happen to people's jobs, even though I know this is the employee forum and I'm here as a delegate. I literally do not just mean what's going to happen to some people's jobs. as an academic institution, as Arlene put, there's cold comfort in thinking about just the sciences when the sciences are being impacted and manipulated. However, we must protect humanities. As a scientist myself, what is the point of doing research, even in public health, if we are not trying to promote health and life in a world and a society that matters? Thank you. That is not a question.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Ellie?
Yeah, thanks, Provost Dean. I think my comment/question is really more logistical, and I think you probably don't have an answer for it. But as somebody who works with faculty directly, I hear a lot about the extraneous information that is not required, but encouraged to be included in syllabi. And then with your statement saying a lot of that information will not be included in posted syllabi, my question, or rather suggestion, as we figure out this process for posting these, is that if my faculty are asked to create 2 separate syllabi, one that they supply to their students because this information is useful and important, and another copy to upload to this database, they will revolt.
Yes, they will.
And so as a faculty member, I'm sure you understand all of the different administrative burdens that are now being put on faculty. So that's just my plug. It's possible that perhaps this information will be scrubbed by the database itself, and the burden won't fall on them. I just wanted to bring that up. They obviously feel like they get pulled in different directions, and this is just one of those things that I anticipate them being frustrated with.
No, I appreciate that. I do expect some frustration as well. And it's not clear how those technical issues are going to be sorted out, but I do appreciate it. I mean, this is early days. As I said, the policy doesn't even go into effect until next week, and the repository report doesn't go into effect until the fall. So we're very much in a planning stage of trying to sort out exactly the kind of issues that you've raised.
I think related to that, but also Elizabeth's comment earlier, one of the things we've seen in Florida and Texas is, threats to academic freedom, such as, professors no longer including certain writings in their curriculum. In part, the chilling effect of worrying about what will happen if they include something that just might be considered controversial, and how that will impact student learning and the ability of faculty to teach what they truly feel is important. So that chilling effect is something, we've seen North Carolina follow in the footsteps of Texas and Florida and many other areas of state law and education. And so that's just something kind of curious how we plan on addressing that.
Well, I think it was in Elizabeth's comment that she used the metaphor of a tightrope, and I think that's not a bad way to think about it. As the leadership of UNC-Chapel Hill, the flagship institution of the UNC system, we're very tightly coupled with the system, and the system is very tightly coupled with the North Carolina General Assembly and the political leaders of the state. That's true. It's also true that we're responsible for leading one of the best public universities in America, and that if indeed people start to feel as if they're censored or constrained in what they can do, that has a tendency to have a deleterious effect on the function of the university and our brightness as a university. Again, Elizabeth's metaphor is probably not a bad one there. We're trying to make sure to do the best we can for the university while recognizing we're part of a broader organizational and political body that can and does put constraints on us, like the one that we've just been talking about. So that's the world that we are living in now, and trying to figure out how to have the most effective university that we can, given the political and other constraints on us.
And then I'll go ahead and close up with one last question from the chat. I doubt any syllabi database will automatically be able to scrub or redact non-public record material, which means staff or faculty will be required. Who or what will be tasked with that? Will be there additional staffing and funding to support those extra duties? I think one of the concerns is this is yet one more unfunded mandate coming to us that is going to add work to existing staff. And so making sure that if this does create more work, making sure that that's staff. So I wanted to hear your feedback on that.
Yeah, I mean, I think you know from my answers to previous questions that we don't have anything like that level of detail sorted out yet. There will be additional work. Somebody's going to have to do that work. I hope that we can use technology for a lot of the work, but I can't promise you that there'll be additional work for both staff and faculty. And it's a requirement that's been placed on us that we simply have to comply with.
Thank you so much, Provost Dean, for joining us this morning. I hope you have a great afternoon, rest of your day, and a lovely weekend.
All right. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Right, and next we are moving on to our Service First update. I do want to mention, let me switch sharing here. In just a second. And Natalia, I may have you talk a little bit about this, but I do want to let folks know that as a follow-up to our survey that we conducted in the fall semester about Service First, we are going to begin engaging in listening sessions related to Service First. We're in the process of finalizing this flyer, so there'll be a few changes. But we do want to make sure we're engaging staff and finding out what they still need to hear. So Natalia, if you're online, I'll go ahead and let you talk a little bit more about these.
Sure, Rebecca. I just want to highlight that, we recognize that Service First represents a significant shift in how many of us work. And the purpose of the sessions is not to, defend the initiative, but we are engaging in the sessions so that we can listen. The sessions are confidential. We've designed them to elevate the voices of staff directly to campus leadership in a constructive and meaningful way. And so our first session will be on Monday, January the 26th at 11 o'clock in the Blue Cross and Blue Shield Auditorium in Michael Hooker Research Center. The information we send out will have some walking directions. We are holding this session in person only. In the future, we will hold a virtual session for, folks that that need that. So yeah, that's pretty much everything. Thanks, Rebecca.
Thank you. Thanks, Natalia. And we will be sharing the feedback that we receive in an anonymous fashion. We can't require folks that attend the sessions to keep confidentiality, but we as the folks that will be conducting the session will ensure that the feedback is shared in an anonymous way so that staff feel comfortable sharing. Next up, also with Service First, Scott, are you here?
I'm here.
Thank you for joining us. I know you were a bit under the weather, so I do appreciate that you are here today. Let me bring up your slide deck, or do you want to share your slide deck? It's totally up to you, which is easier.
I don't mind. I don't mind sharing it if it's. I got it right here. Good to see everyone. Apologize about the voice being a little funky. Managed to come down with the flu this week, so had a chance to put a little bit of content together. A lot of this for many of the members of the employee forum you've seen before about Service First, but just trying to keep the material intact. The prior kind of share is 110% aligned with what we took away from the survey results that employee forum sent out, and we were identically pairing up, trying to set up these times. And so we look forward to hopefully being an active participant in those listening sessions and honoring that request, and appreciate the employee forum spending time to go ahead and set up the first one later this month. On On the Service First front, and even listening into the Provost comments, aligns with what a lot of the things we've been talking about of the why Service First and why now. This material isn't new. It's changed a little bit with regard to just the display. We used these slides yesterday at the Chancellor's quarterly operation meeting. And again, in the spirit of just trying to create some consistency with our message. But many of these things aren't new. But if you're a new employee, either calling in today or participating for the first time, this would be a good reference along with the website that we have, which we do in earnest try to maintain and keep up to date with all the material that we're releasing. So what's happened so far? Again, you're getting these monthly updates to the employee forum, and also trying to have a monthly message, which always didn't hit at the end of the month, but our intent is to try to get in the groove with that in 2026. But we've been actively having many different discussions since in earnest July of last year, and then spending a tremendous amount of time in trying to continue to create that sense of awareness, but also using the structure that you all invited us into really early in June of last year, even before Service First was initially framed out, to come and share the material and to hear the feedback. And my commitment continuously has been to listen to it. It's not going to be where every single request that we can honor, but many of the requests that you all have been putting forward has evolved the overall process that we've been trying to build, and has helped us with creating the alignment, and then also making sure that we don't make any irreversible decisions. That definitely is the spirit of shared services, not only for what we are going through, but what we're picking up on as we talk to colleagues throughout the country who are going through this or have gone through this in the past. If you're wondering what shared services is, this again is trying to show the different expertise that are across campus. We used the slide back in the original material when we used it yesterday, just as a 2026 reminder of what it is and what we're trying to build. But it is intended to help us leverage the talent that's on campus. It's not to continue to make people feel, or not necessarily just feel, but are actively overworked now. And so a lot of the data elements that we'll be sharing in the coming weeks will allow some tracking of work, not intended to make you enter data to just get data, but to leverage some of our existing systems and to be able to assess capacity as the different groupings come to life. And not only the quantitative side, but the qualitative side on a more routine basis, being able to centrally monitor the overall services that exist as we make these groupings in place across campus with a consistent service expectation and ongoing report outs to this forum as we get into the midpoint of this year. I look forward to being able to present some of the data for the initial changes that are forthcoming as we get into the HR evaluations and the outcomes of that. The key highlights we've talked about, but just to reiterate, the steering committee, listening to a lot of the work that the different task force went through over the course of the fall. Again, there are, of all the functional areas coming together, there are over 150 task force members. The deans and the deans committee have been active in this. And, a goal of mine has been to create a message, but also understand that there's going to be uncertainty, and we're going to pivot. That could happen within 24 hours, but continuing to show up and be present. Where are we now in terms of what's underway? And I'll talk about this in a little more detail with slides, but on the HR evaluation, the shared services groupings that we've been sharing that show how the different units across campus would be bundled together is going through an HR evaluation in terms of current headcount, leadership structure, and what would be needed to support that new grouping as it relates to service quality, process improvement, the systems we've got in place, the people in place, and being able to make recommendations, which we committed to the deans as we closed out last year. We had a 2-hour joint meeting, I think on December 18th. And the commitment to the deans and the unit leads are to have unit level discussions around each of the functional areas as we get into the HR evaluation. Again, no decision is final. but working towards kind of a positive outcome is the intent of honoring those unit level discussions and then coming to forums like this and providing kind of aggregate level impact and implications across the campus community. And then the what's next, continuing with the engagement, trying to figure out the current staffing and funding that we've got in place and where that could potentially shift. The work streams kicking off in terms of process improvement, partnering with operational excellence, systems and workflows, but also really taking service first from the messaging of elevating service and unifying support, elevating Carolina to really what is that overall customer experience that all people, all staff and faculty and students should expect out of these functional areas is one of the deliverables that will be forthcoming in the next few weeks. The work streams we talked about, again, this frames out moving into that implementation phase that we've consistently been talking about. And as we closed out December employee forum, the timeline, which I'll end on, we've stayed in place. And so the 1, 2, and 3 really right now are where the HR team with Linc's leadership kicked off that work in earnest in December and continue to do that post-holiday. 4 and 5 is an ongoing effort doing this and being able to consistently articulate where the implementation will happen and trying our best to have constituent engagement and any change management that's ongoing and being able to prepare for success from a training perspective, but also the long-term sustainability of where Service First will go. 6, 7, 8, and 9 is where a majority of the task force work will start focusing on this month. We've had a pretty good partnership with PSM, who is an external group that focuses on higher education and the finance world as well. And they've been able to really refresh, and as I get the final version of this, they've been able to help us refresh really a U.S.-wide assessment of where shared services is in higher education. So many of our peers that we currently have listed who are participating in it, the slides really take information from the EAB or Educational Advisory Board that were dated in 2020, 2021, and shows some of them going through their 3rd version of the shared services, which University of Michigan is kind of in that spot. Cal Berkeley has a really robust structure that they are restructuring right now, but also the long-term success of that. So I think that will help at least hopefully provide a little bit of a glimpse of where people are and what they're actively doing right now. So the HR evaluation, I mentioned, the purpose of it is to take those operating models or shared service groupings of the units and to be able to kind of go line by line with the current structure and team that is there. Also with the eye on the activities and services that the task forces went through over the course of August, September, and October of last year. What should potentially stay at a unit, what could be shared, and what makes sense to more centralize. And so going through that with each functional area at this point is a task that the HR team is taken on. The focus initially is within the IT functional area and then the marketing communications area. As that work kind of comes to a close in the next few weeks, it'll shift to the finance and research administration groupings, and then closing out with the HR team with the goal of maintaining our timeline as we continue to try to make some progress in the beginning of the 2nd quarter of 2026. And so what is HR building for us to be able to review, and the steering committee and the deans to evaluate as a recommendation of what's needed to accomplish the shared service groupings and the operating model, the system actions and people impact of that and what the timelines would be, and then a record of positions in terms of those that we've been through attrition. Some of the leaders have been just holding on, but going really with the the detail of evaluating the positional need of each position, and then the resulting change in the structure for, again, a deliverable, one of the priorities of if there are savings, being able to reinvest those savings into the mission of the university. Last slide, you all have seen a little bit different coloring and structure, but still the timing of this hasn't changed since our original July 2025 presentation. The work is definitely ongoing. We are moving into that implementation planning phase, and the material that I presented before this hopefully gives you a little bit of more detailed information on what to look forward to as we get into the February employee forum with some of the HR recommendations, being able to share some of that information. And then, the timing of these is TBD. I think that the steering committee is listening. The steering committee is listening to the voice of the campus. At the same time, the unit leads and the dean's team has been great about making sure that the goal isn't to damage the campus. And if the success of Service First in terms of being able to elevate service quality and process improvement, address lingering, which we talked about in December, lingering issues with different systems that we currently use across campus, and making a focused effort in improving those is 110% the goal and effort that will be forthcoming as we get into the new year. So with that, I think that's my last slide for today, and I'll take any questions that you all may have.
Thank you, Scott. I do want to start with a question to find out where we are in terms of inviting the boots on the ground nominees for participation in the design process.
Yeah, so we've got STAC that's upcoming, that you mentioned in February. The employees that you sent over, I think in November, with that list, all of the task force leaders are on board with inviting 2 of those team members that you all have submitted to us. So those invitations should be going out no later than the end of next week. I had a few just getting everybody on the same page discussions, whether it was the steering committee or the dean's group, to explain and continue to foster the environment of what those meetings have meant, right? I mean, there's some big, burly conversations that are forthcoming, but I think the timing of getting more participation is perfect, and our effort to do that, our commitment to doing it is almost there.
All right. Keith, I'll get to you in 1 second. Where does ongoing evaluation and revision fit into this for the, oops, I lost that one. It bumped out of the way. Where does ongoing evaluation and revision fit into this slide for our approach roadmap? And Elizabeth, I might need you to clarify that question.
Thanks, Rebecca. Scott, I guess I bring this up occasionally, and as we move forward, we're still very interested in seeing where there are critical evaluations of what's working and what needs to be adjusted. Probably can't do much about the things that we wish weren't happening at all, but in many discussions with you every month, it does come up. How do we know that the people organizing this and implementing it do have ways of checking for flaws, vulnerabilities, and, not to put it negatively, ways to optimize the way it is working and making sure that there are as few cracks as possible. We are all concerned, of course, about things coming to a halt in the research world. In the middle of sponsored projects, if something stops working well, it's not good for the data. Thanks.
Yeah, I mean, we're completely aligned, and my effort with the position I'm in is intended to create and help create that culture of measuring and providing the detail of how we're doing and to address the issues. The commitment across all the functional area leads, whether it's at the vice chancellor level or all the way down to our frontline team members, there's an energy for that exact thing across campus. I mean, as I've mentioned a few times, being on campus myself for a little bit, I do think that there are really good things going on, and then there are areas that we can use improvement, and there's some exemplary areas. And the push from each of the functional areas is to take those activities that we've all been doing, but then, with Service First, being able to provide a lens at the very highest levels of leadership or outside of campus with the Board of Trustees, that the image at times that we do have to counter of, hey, is UNC-Chapel Hill efficient? That will be a deliverable. And the data to me carries us there. And when I say data, again, it's not just the quantitative widgets, but it's also the qualitative service impact, being able to show how we're using the FTEs that we've got, and that ongoing effort that will be entrenched in the next phase of Service First.
I mean, what I'm trying to say here, Scott, and I appreciate that answer, but by data, I actually mean what our projects are doing for human subjects in research, for example. And so you could look at, if you want me to sound drastic for a minute and clear, heading disaster off at the pass when we see it coming. And again, because I'm dealing with human subjects research, it's not just about whether a paper gets delayed. It is about the actual treatment of human beings. Thanks.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Keith?
I have a few things. First, Scott, I do want to say thank you for coming. Because you have come consistently for or at least sent a representative since the announcement of Service First. I don't know that everyone would do that, so we do appreciate you doing that. And I also want to say you and your team have done a wonderful job of outlining why we're making this shift from the university perspective, for the cost savings and the economies of scale and economies of scope and all of that. You've done a great job with that. As we begin to move into the listening sessions that Natalia was talking about, what I feel you're going to hear a lot of is that individuals in their workspace, they have no clue how they are going to be affected individually. Is a person about to move from one unit to another? Is a person about to have a new supervisor? Are they about to have to change their workspaces? Is their cadence for the things that they're doing, are the things that they are doing going to shift? That's where I think a lot of the angst and anxiety people may be feeling behind this are feeling. Because in times of chaos, people's sense of self-preservation is high. And but they have no way to know if they are going to be preserved. We've heard openly that some of the cost savings that Nate and his team are looking to get are hoping to come from just attrition. And we've also heard that the Service First model could lead to some attrition or some rifts at some point. So I think we are failing to hear, and you may not be able to tell us, people don't know how to enter this because they don't know how they are individually going to be affected. It's not been very well outlined that, hey, these certain things are going to happen. People don't know, and that causes anxiety within the workplace. And when you're anxious, you can't be at your optimum efficient self while working, because I'm thinking, okay, I've made my mortgage payment this month, but am I going to be able to make it next month? Because I don't know what's going to happen with Service First. So I don't know. There was no question in that. now that I've realized I've said a whole lot and did not put a question mark anywhere in there. So for that, I apologize. And I really don't know what the question is. I just felt that the sentiment needed to be openly stated.
Yeah. Can I respond?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm done.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and I appreciate that. And as I've mentioned a few times in the work group, the work group we've got has all the task force leaders, and experiencing this a few times in a different work environment, that uncertainty is, it can fracture a culture. And the way that I've been trying to steward service first, regardless of the forum or the invite, showing up to listen to those questions where I don't have all the detail yet. And moving campus from, okay, this is a concept, to being able to evaluate a operating model that we could at least start framing out, is where we got to in the fall. And then at a minimum, Keith, that question of who's going to be impacted when I get that question. If you're in those functional areas, there's going to be potentially some change, right? I don't know what that detail is yet. Getting the steering committee to that approval of the operating model groupings, that's what the HR evaluation is intended to provide. My role, Linc Butler's role, along with the unit leads, that ability to start having that person level impact conversation. And so the timing of that, as we get into the latter part of January and February, I will know better about when those conversations are happening. Now, they may not directly happen with you, Keith, to begin with, but I will kind of calendar out as soon as that information is there to be able to get ahead as much as possible of trying to establish some level of stability in an environment right now, which between not only service first, but the changes that you all were asking about with regard to the centers and those areas. That my goal is just to continue the communication, showing up with the information, and knowing that my commitment that I said in December of having those person level discussions are the most difficult piece of this journey. And honoring that with empathy and directness, but not sugarcoating it and hiding where it's going is not my intent. It's really been wholeheartedly a goal of no surprises. And I know that's difficult to always steward, but that is the intent of what I'm trying to get to. So I'm prepared. My team is prepared for that. The functional area leads are prepared for that. The HR leaders are prepared for that. And as we get in that level of detail, it's forthcoming to happen.
Right, related to Keith. Thanks, Keith. Related to Keith's comments, are there plans? Whoops, I skipped one. Are employee kind of two that are tied together here? What specifically is in phase 1 and phase 2? We've been hearing the same schedule, same activities for several months now without details, and the schedule we're still on track for creeps closer without the details for groups that the groups are asking for. And part of, and then tied to that, I think, is another question, that is, are employees going to find out that their jobs may be affected, eliminated, redistributed during the planning phase 1 or the implementation phase 1?
So the goal is that to happen during the planning phase, right? And so the commitment we made to the deans at that December meeting, which was always intended, is, as we do the HR evaluation, each of the units across campus, going and having the discussion with the leadership team there, this is what we see as the potential people ramifications of creating these groupings. So, one of my first comments was try not to create destruction. It is to have the conversation. And as you all know, we're not going to 100% agree on every request or output that we've got. But having a discussion with the unit level leaders is 110% intended. From that, the work stream that I talked about with regard to implementation roadmap and phasing, we will be able to kind of lay out that detail. An April 1 launch for everything, there was a time when that was a potential expectation. The course of just the last 5 months has let the entire campus, all the way up, I feel like, to the Chancellor, understand that hey, moving with this forward momentum that we've got, I would expect there to be, it phased appropriately, where it not only continues with the phase 1, phase 2, but we talked about in prior employee forums where each quarter there may be a series of different adjustments, just because we wouldn't be able to just go live all April 1 is not the intent with everything. So again, I apologize that the details desired, we are getting there. Look forward to being able to provide that and kind of go to that message versus where we've been so focused on what it is, why we're doing it, and now the detail of what we're going to get into the first few weeks of this year.
Are there plans to gauge the less tangible impacts? Things like, do clients feel confident about who to contact, or perhaps do clients know who to follow up with if they have issues?
Yeah, the model design that we are, and I can talk about this in the next employee forum, a few slides of what we're asking the task forces to provide for each functional area, so you would know that triaging of requests, right? So at the unit level, manager level, and the staff level, you would know what your grouping is, and then what the expected route of communication, expectation of follow-up, but also what service level expectations each unit should be getting. And then my team is getting built to be able to continuously measure that and support and foster, because the groupings all will perform a little bit differently initially, at least from my experience, but trying to create that consistent standard at least has been the fun part about my jobs, doing these in another arena of shared services, of kind of stewarding that new state. And I completely agree that we can get there.
And then I know we're running out of time, and I've got another presentation we're a little bit behind on, but wrap up with a few questions. So HR will be evaluating recommendations for changes, but they don't have experience with the tools used or processes executed. When will we see the individual contributors being asked for their input to ensure these changes make sense?
Yeah, so that's that unit level discussion. And I do want to kind of put a pin in a question I continuously get. Why is our HR team evaluating something they've never done? And my journey with HR professionals over the course of 25 plus years, we've got a lot of talent here. And every month I've asked the steering committee, hey, do we need to bring in external consultant support? I've talked to probably 15 different universities. We've used external consultants. And many people in our arena are moving away from that, because it allows our HR team not only to work towards elevating talent and being more talent management versus just transactional job, and creating that kind of engaged culture. But I just want to put a pin in, if there's a question of, and I know Linc's on the call, but my partnership with HR, I 110% know that our HR professionals, both centrally and at the units, can kind of steward this process. Going to that question, the capabilities of making sure that there's feedback at the unit level, right now it's to be determined of who's in that meeting. When we talk to the deans and the unit leads, some vice chancellors in December, it may just be with them. They may bring in their HR person. So each unit may have a little bit different participation in that initial presentation, but it is intended to happen. And hopefully that gets at the question, Rebecca, of the timing of that as we get into the latter part of this month and early February, especially for the first two that are getting reviewed, IT and communications. And I don't know, Linc, if you would add anything from the evaluation process that your team is leading. Sorry to put you on the spot.
Yeah, it's a fair point that was made with that particular comment. The other thing that I would just remind the group of is one of the biggest things that we are taking a look at is the organizational change that's being proposed. So we work with units all the time on organizational changes, restructures, and one of the big pieces that we want to advise on is to make sure that, okay, how do we get from point A to point B, from current state to future state, and what are all of the necessary actions in between that are required in order to get from that current state to future state. that are also in compliance with policy. So a lot of the review that we are undertaking before it gets to those unit level discussions is just around that. So we want to make sure that we can advise appropriately on what are the necessary actions, how are they compliant, and then also help inform that when it gets to the point of the unit level discussions, that's where I think that engagement Scott talked about with folks who are those unit level experts who can help be a part of that conversation. And that's not any different than what we would do, for example, if an individual unit was doing a restructure, but certainly acknowledge that doing it on this scale is larger than anything we've ever done, which is why we are trying to bring in the necessary expertise from not only across my team, but also the HR task force and others in order to review it. And then secondarily, one thing Scott talked about in terms of the consideration around, do we need to bring in some external help with this? I think this group knows better than anyone that our rule set around our different employee types is just weird. We have different employee groups with different rules, different requirements. And if we did have an external, let's say, vendor or consulting group come in and try and help with this, a large part of the time would be spent initially just trying to help explain to them, here's how things work within our policies and our classification systems and that sort of thing. So we felt like because we work in it every day, we're in a better position to do that kind of evaluation. But certainly appreciate the comment and understand it.
And I'll go ahead and close with one last question, Scott. And this, I think Courtney has answered in part in the chat, but finding out and having more detail online available about the operating models that were approved there was an understanding from December that those would be posted before the break, but they have not been. And so are they posted anywhere or will they be? And it looks like Courtney indicated that they will be. But could you give us a timeline on when those models will be up and available on the Service First website?
My intent was December 19th, 2025.
Gotcha.
I mean, just to be honest with you. And then, after the 18th meeting, there were some additional requests that we had to make. It's on us, so if you all would be so kind to give us towards the end of next week, we'll have the last version of those shared service groupings posted. Also, Brian's comment, we got to get better in terms of delivering on the monthly between the different forms and meetings. I'll own that and getting to the commitment that we've been trying to make of releasing that monthly update at the end of the month versus 15 to 20 days after. So duly noted and hear it, and it's our expectation as well. Again, showing up and doing these forums. I'm a staff member, right? I've been a staff member. I'm also, help teach. And so, I appreciate these forums. I know that it takes everybody's time, and continuing to show up and share is my intent. So thanks for continuing to invite us in to help with the conversation around this.
Thank you, Scott. Appreciate it. Hope you feel better.
I appreciate it. I made it. I survived. Thank you all.
That's what we can do sometimes. All right.
Bye.
Thank you. Justin Miller, thank you so much for hanging out with us. I hope you are still there. I see you.
I am.
You are. So thank you very much for being willing to share some information with us about safety training and resources. So I shall squeak as I turn the floor over to you for your presentation. Thank you.
All right. Good morning, everyone. I'd like to thank Chair Howell and his employee forum body for providing me this opportunity to share some important updates on our emergency preparedness resources available to our staff and our Carolina community. I wanted to kick this off and start with, historically, this employee forum has been instrumental in strengthening emergency preparedness on campus. Many of the resources that I'll be talking about today were developed or improved thanks to your input and advocacy. Your contributions have truly shaped how we prepare as a campus, and I appreciate our continued partnership. So first, I'm going to start with some new emergency preparedness guides. So UNC Emergency Management and Planning released 2 new guides designed at making safety information more accessible. I'm going to quickly share my screen. And we're going to talk about some of those resources right now. The first is going to be the newly updated Carolina Ready Preparedness Guide. So this combines the former student safety guide and the employee preparedness guide into one simplified communication to ensure our entire campus has the same information. It helps our campus community to be informed about emergency communication, providing you with the tools you need to be prepared for any emergency, and then empowering you to take action when it matters most. So that guide is available. And the second guide I want to highlight today is going to be the Carolina Ready Guide. This is a brand new resource that focuses on the actions to take after an Alert Carolina message is received. So what it does is it breaks down each alert type, and it sort of starts to explain what actions to take. So it will provide an example of what the message may look like, and then highlighting again what actions to take. Both of these guides are available online and print on the Carolina Ready website. So if you go on the Carolina Ready website and go to training and resources, you'll start to find those guides here. And in an effort to ensure our full campus community can best understand the content, these 2 guides have been translated into English, Spanish, Burmese, and Karen. These languages were chosen based upon feedback and recommendations from this employee forum. While I also have the floor, I want to take a moment to recognize James Damey for his outstanding advocacy. As a member of the employee forum team who helped us develop sort of my next agenda item topic, James has championed inclusivity by ensuring non-English speaking staff have access to critical safety information. His efforts have directly influenced the redesign of the Carolina Ready Preparedness Guide and inspired the creation of the Alert Carolina Guide in all of these different languages. So James, thank you very much.
Thank you.
The next resource that I want to talk about is going to be the Carolina Ready Training. So I want to remind you about this effort. So this course is available in Carolina Talent, and you can find it here or linked on the Training and Resources page. This course was customized specifically for staff members, ensuring that the content is practical and relevant to your roles on campus. Several volunteers from this employee forum, and many of them are on this call right here today, contributed to its development and provided valuable feedback in helping us shape this training so it truly meets our staff needs. In addition to a couple other resources I want to highlight, I'm going to highlight some of them right now on the Carolina Ready Training and Resources page. The Emergency Action Plan, we recommend going through this document. It talks about tips about evacuating, shelter in place, and securing in place, and has a lot of great information to empower you to take action when emergencies happen on campus. We have a lot of other resources here on this page, including information for instructors for being safe in the classroom. We have safety videos, posters, and other kind of assistance that could be provided. On the UNC Police page, I wanted to highlight a few things, and I'll drop all these chats here in the link after I conclude. On the Prevention and Education page, they offer an active shooter critical incident response training that builds on that run, hide, fight, defend model, and it combines the nationally recognized best practices with UNC-specific resources and considerations. It's available in a virtual, hybrid, or in-person formats, and departments can request this training. They also include the RAD training. It's an in-person self-defense course that teaches realistic tactics for personal safety and assaults. So men, women, anyone could take the class. So definitely recommend something to look into that if you are interested. On the environmental health and safety website with their fire safety team, they do offer AED CPR certification training. So you could sign up for that. And also, if you've never used a live fire extinguisher on a real fire, they also can bring over live fire pits to your building, not inside, of course, outside in a safe distance away from the buildings, where you could use a fire extinguisher. So again, I'll drop those chats here in my conclusion. But in closing, our goal is to make safety information clear, accessible, and useful to everyone on campus. So please, at the beginning of the semester, like it is right now, take time to review these resources, share them with your teams, and encourage staff to go in, log into Carolina Talent, and complete the training. Now remember, this one is important. Emergencies can happen at any time. We could be in our office, we could be at the grocery store, out shopping, or at home. And the resources and tools I presented today don't just apply here on campus. They could apply anywhere. So take some time to understand these fundamentals so you could be prepared and empowered to take action whenever it is needed. And then, don't hesitate to reach out if you have any different ideas for helping improve our safety on campus for our students, for our staff. As we've seen, a lot of your feedback has been employed here. We've built resources with your partnership. So please reach out so together we can make Carolina a safer place for everyone. And that's it. So thank you for your time today. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Justin. I know you did this on a very short notice, so I am very grateful that you jumped in to present this at the start of a new semester, which I think is excellent timing. And I know the forum is really grateful for the way that you have reached out to partner with us. You really do set the bar for how we hope to interact with other departments on campus. So thank you. Elizabeth?
Hey there, thanks for being here today. Always good to see you. Justin, will we be involved in another event this year to promote safety on campus?
Ooh, you're asking that question early on in the year. So yes, we are planning an emergency preparedness festival held in that September timeframe. The topic is still under development. I do have a theme I think is going to be fun. It's going to be engaging again for our campus community. It will be a large event, so similar to our Zombie Preparedness Festival and our Pirate Emergency Preparedness Festival. So it will be encompassing the entire campus and local, county, and state communities as well. So it'll be a big one. It's going to be fun. And when I can tease it, I will be needing some volunteers. So stay tuned for that whenever we're ready to start pulling together those logistics.
I believe you will have at least a few volunteers from this group,
I like
if
it.
not more than you need.
I like it. You guys are all superheroes.
It's a lot of fun. And I'm seeing lots of suggestions in the chat already. So the group is engaged.
Gotcha.
All right. Any other questions for Justin before you move on to our next topic? All right. Thank you again, Justin. Really appreciate the work that your office does. And we look forward to continuing our collaboration.
Thank you very much.
All right. Linc, it is your turn to officially be on the hot seat, although you've been called on already. So I'll go ahead and turn things over to you for a human resources update.
Thanks, Rebecca. And never a hot seat. Always happy to be here and partner with this group. Going to go through a couple of quick updates, some things that we are going to be highlighting in the upcoming work well that's coming out. And I know Jessica's here to provide wellness updates, so I'll try not to steal any of her thunder. Carolina Cares, Carolina Shares, just wanted to give you all an update on the amount that we raised so far this year. We are at $277,637. Once again, we lead the way amongst everyone participating in that program, and that just speaks volumes to the Carolina community. every year is an outstanding year in terms of the giving that goes on to the various charities that are available through Carolina Cares, Carolina Shares. So big thank you to those who help publicize it and also get the word out and also participated in it. Also wanted to let you all know that we, our partners in the University Compliance Office, they have a refreshed design for their website. So they are encouraging folks to check it out. Also, they're open to feedback as well. So definitely want to encourage you to take a look at that. W-2s are available. You probably saw the notice that just went out from our partners in the payroll office that they are available. There is a quick reference card that they've made available for folks. Going to put that hyperlink in the chat as well. And it's hard to believe that we're actually at that point, right? I mean, the year passed by so quickly, and here we are. W-2s are already available. Once again, I know that Joe Williams has attended the last couple of meetings in the lead up to the new calendar year, just as he did during the December meeting. Would like to also again encourage you to make sure you're checking and paying attention to your benefit deductions to make sure that they reflect the elections that you made during open enrollment. And if you see an issue or a problem, please reach out to the benefits team. I think they will be happy to work with you on any issues that you might see or provide some information if you just have questions about what you're seeing on your deductions there. I'm going to leave it to Jessica to talk about the Wellness Expo, which is going to be coming up very soon in March. So I'll let her talk about the details there. Additionally, I wanted to let this group know that we have worked on and will be launching a stay interview survey program. Many of you are familiar with the exit interview program that we have in place, but I know a lot of other organizations have a stay interview program where they more proactively reach out to employees to share what makes UNC a great place to work and also what we can do to make it better. So it's a little bit of a more proactive approach. And I've asked Anjanette McAdoo and her team and the Employer Management Relations Group to come in the February meeting to do a more detailed presentation on that as well. So with that, looks like there's some questions in the chat on the W-2s, and Joe has already taken care of that. So I'll turn it over to Jessica, but I'm open to questions as well about any of the announcements. But again, would encourage you to check out Workwell when it rolls out very soon. And again, Happy New Year to you all. I hope your holidays were great and really looking forward to the continued partnership. And also just want to say my own kudos to James. James, really appreciate your partnership over the years and looking forward to working with you on future efforts. But I think we all know the quality of human being that James is, but I just wanted to add my 2 cents as well.
Thank you again. I don't deserve it, but thank you.
Yeah, you do, and more.
Very,
All
very
right, Jessica, you're up.
Thank you, Linc. Happy New Year, everyone. You can save your voice, Rebecca, for a little bit longer. I hope everybody is starting the new year feeling just refreshed and looking forward to the semester ahead. I know a lot goes on in the world that shifts things very quickly, but just use this time of year to make sure that you're setting goals for yourself, personally, professionally. And so there will be an article in the Healthy New Year resources that are available to you. Just a reminder, in the Workwell newsletter, this information is on our website, but we're kind of compiling it all together in its own web page, just to remind you of what we offer that might help with you achieving and maintaining your New Year's resolution for as long as possible. If you're working on stress reduction, reminder that our Mindful UNC group holds monthly meditation practices the first Wednesday of every month. This month, everything is delayed a little bit. So their first mindful meditation session will be next Wednesday, the 14th at 8:30. And then you have the opportunity for brief 15-minute, 20-minute meditations Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Those are led by various people throughout UNC and the community. They're open to everyone, and they are brief midday meditation reset opportunities for you. We have all of our Wellness Wednesdays scheduled through the end of June, and those are on our calendars, thanks to my colleague Miriam. So we have had a session earlier this week. Next week, we're going to start with preventing employee burnout. The 21st, we'll have a session on hobbies for mental and physical health. The 28th, intention setting to transform your life. That is a brand new topic. And February 4th, we'll have one on improving memory, as that can decrease with age, hormones, and lack of sleep. So be sure to check out our calendar. All this information is on that HR events calendar. And then just to let you know that, of course, your EAP program is there to support you in all the ways that they do. There is a live person answering the phone 24 hours a day, every day of the year, to find out what you need, get you referrals, and get you connected to the best help. If your New Year's goal was to increase your physical activity, I want to remind you of the on-demand resources that are available through Campus Rec. You do not need to be a member to participate in the videos that they have on their website that focus on core strength, cardio, and HIIT workouts, as well as yoga classes as well. They range in how long they are, but they're free for all. If you do want to join Campus Rec, the employee membership is $20 a month through payroll deduction. If you're a temp employee, it's $25 a month, and that is directly through Campus Rec, not through the One Card office. So that information will be in this article website and is on our website as well. If you're looking to maintain or achieve a healthier weight goal, I just want to remind you that those state health plan in-network dietitians are always free to you. You need to make sure that they're in-network and they're not associated with the hospital. But you find one for you that best meets your needs through the state health plan Find the Doctor tool under medical doctors and specialists. And then we still do offer the on-site nutrition program here at UNC. If you have 6 employees who are interested in working with a dietitian through Lifestyle Medical, we can get them here on campus to meet with you to avoid you having to go to them for your first appointment. Eat Smart, Move More continues to be available for free in 2026. Always happy to hear that. That is a 15-week weight management program, which reinforces those healthy behaviors of increasing and staying physically active throughout the week, eating healthy nutrition diet, and maintaining that healthy weight or losing weight if that is your goal. If you've taken that session in the recent years, there's also Eat Smart, Move More, Weigh Less 2 that is also offered for free. And those codes are all updated on our website. You'll want to use that voucher code to get the cost waived. That refresher course is a little bit shorter. It is 12 weeks. All of these are online, but live and led by a registered dietitian. If your goal is to improve your financial wellness, we are continuing with our Financial Friday series. There will be one today on After the Holidays Managing Debt. You're going to want to email me to get that link. Registration closed yesterday. And then the 23rd, there's a session on preparing for financial emergencies. And those are all on the same events calendar as well. To help you increase your well-being, the university is still recommending that faculty and staff recognize the students' well-being days, which are no meeting days for faculty and staff. Those days this semester will be Monday, February 9th and Thursday, April 2nd. There will be 2 to 3 virtual wellness opportunities for people to participate in if that is of interest. And then we do have TIA's schedule for the next 3 months. They will continue to come on site at AOB from 9 to 5. to meet one-on-one. At any time, you can schedule a virtual appointment with them, but if you want to meet with them in person, they're here every month at our HR office. So their dates are going to be Tuesday, January 27th, Tuesday, February 17th, and Tuesday, March 3rd. In addition, you will see all of them at the expo as well. To help with part-time childcare needs, our Helping Heals list is open. The number of people signing up for that list has been decreasing throughout the years. It peaked during the pandemic. A lot of people wanted to help with childcare and pet care and senior care during that time, but we are about 50 Helping Heals at this point, so still a good list, but we used to be over 100 at one point in time. Being a Helping Heal is you offering either volunteering or paid for service, which is more common these days, for part-time childcare, pet care, or senior care. And that registration is going to be open through Sunday, the 25th, so we can have it up the first week of February. Your discounts that we're highlighting this month in the newsletter, there are many. Just those discounts that we want to remind you of ways to save if you're working and focusing on your health this month. You have your discounts for Active and Fit Direct. The enrollment fee is waived till the end of February. It is a $28 a month membership for many local gyms. And also this time of year, I just want to point out, you might want to look into that gym with it being the start of the new year. They may be offering something a little bit more competitive, so shop around. And then the Campus Rec membership as well. Through LifeMart, which is the new Aetna discount program that replaced, if you've been here for a while, it replaced the Blue 365 discount program. They offer discounts such as discounts off HelloFresh, and the weight loss product Noom. So Noom is 12 months for the cost of 6 months if you enroll this month. And then we're also reminding you of your Bright Dime discount. We work with them directly to help you better understand your financial spending. Bright Dime is free for employees. It does have the opportunity for an enhanced membership for $20 a month, but the free membership is all I use, and it helps you set budgets. It helps you see where your money's going, and you get an email at the start of every week on Monday to see how you did that week. So I do find it helpful, and I do encourage it. And then for my final note is, yes, we are actively planning the 2026 Total Wellbeing Expo. That will be, save the date, Wednesday, March 18th. Same time, same place, 11 to 2 in Fetzer Hall. We are working on all the details, registration for our wellness resource fair, as well as all the activities that we have available on site that day and virtually. That stays open till the end of this month. So early February, we'll be collecting all those details and coming up with the agenda. But if you've not participated in our wellness resource fair before, if you've not signed up yet, that link will be going out in the newsletter later today. And if you participated before, you should have gotten to invitation emails already. We're also starting to recruit for our volunteers. Volunteers will need volunteers the afternoon before, as well as the day of the expo from 8 a.m. until about 3:30 in the afternoon. Those shifts are subject to change slightly as we finalize the agenda in early February, but you can start signing up now, and then you'll have all the details you need in early March. The expo is the 18th this year, giving us a little bit more time to get everything finalized. Let me know if you have any questions, but please remember to take care of yourself so we can have a healthy and happy semester. Question from Natasha.
Hey, Jessica, Happy New Year. Thanks for your update as always. Question back to the wellness days as no meeting days for faculty and staff. I feel like there's usually emails that go out about those being prioritized as no meeting days. Do you know when those emails are scheduled to go out this year?
I don't know about the emails. Linc might if he's still on, but I do know it is going to be in the newsletter this month. Last spring, it wasn't in the newsletter until Friday.
Okay.
So hopefully that will get a little bit more attention. In addition to that, I speak about these days on our HR council meetings, which is next Monday. So everyone in HR is aware of these days.
Okay. I was just going to
Yeah.
ask, I think, going back to your point too, that I think in semesters prior, sometimes folks, like at least in my unit, had not been aware of that until a couple weeks in advance. Meetings were already scheduled, and I'm like yelling at people like, no, I don't have meetings on wellness days. It's for us too. So I just wanted to put that out there.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I'll chime in on that too, Natasha. I'm not sure about the emails, but as Jessica mentioned, there is an article in the Work Well for January, and certainly what I can do and what Jessica can do is make sure that we work with our comms folks to make sure that there are constant references to it between now and then in future Work Wells, and also we'll check to see what the timing of the email notifications are.
I appreciate that. Thanks, y'all.
Yep.
All right.
Any other questions?
I believe the no meeting days are February 9th and April 2nd. Was that correct?
Yes.
Okay. There was just a question in chat about that. So
Yep, Monday and a Thursday.
perfect. Thank you, Linc, and thank you, Jessica, very much for the information. And we look forward to seeing you again next month.
Thank you.
Feel
And we
better.
appreciate your partnership. We really do. Thank you. All right. So the next thing we are moving on to is our consent agenda. I've already pulled the Carolina Community Garden update. I have pulled Community Service Committee and the Blood Drive Committee out of the consent agenda. Are there any other committee updates that I need to pull out of the consent agenda? Feel free to unmute yourself and let me know.
Can I just pull out leadership, education, and career development for a quick
Yes.
update, please?
And Rebecca, this is Eliza. After the committee updates, there's an update from sustainability with an invitation.
All right. I'll pull that. Any others? Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Thank you, Tiffany. Being properly moved and seconded, I will do this by affirmation. If there's any opposition, please let me know. Seeing none, the consent agenda is approved, and we will move on to old business where we have the updates that we pulled from the consent agenda. Before we get to that, I do want to do another quick shout out. I don't think she's able to, I think she's had to leave already, but I did receive notification during the meeting that Deja Marjorie is also stepping away from the university for another opportunity. So she will be stepping down from her role as a delegate in employee forum. And hopefully at the February meeting, I'll be able to welcome 2 new delegates to take the place of those 2 who are pursuing new opportunities. I'll go ahead and turn the Carolina Community Garden update over to Arlene Metter and Kyle Parker.
Did Kyle make it? And is my microphone working?
Your microphone is working. I don't know if Kyle is here or not.
He said he would not be able to, he was not available until sometime this afternoon, so he's not available for the meeting.
Okay. Then I shall let you take it and run with it.
So for those who are not aware, Kyle Lorch did retire last year. The interim director of the garden is Kyle Parker, who is already managing the edible campus. Sorry, I do not have a camera, so you can't see all my gestures emphasizing this. He attempted to get hold of housekeeping to figure out arrangements concerning his schedule. He wasn't able to get hold of someone. I don't know what happened there. But for now, the food is being going to the Carolina Cupboard, which is available to anyone with a 1 card. It is located in Sasby North. You can get the fresh, frozen, and canned food there. They do have a long-term plan to do multiple pantries around campus, but there's no timeline on that yet. If you have any questions, you can email him at Kyle Parker, and I'll put his address in the link in the chat as soon as I can get it to pull up. Here we go. I do also somewhere have the hours, if I can find it. It was an email chain. Ta-da.
While you're looking for that, do you know if there are any plans to make Carolina Covered available to our second and, well, primarily our third shift, but our second shift?
I did ask about that. He's not certain. Cupboard is open Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, and bi-weekly on Saturdays, 12 to 4. He is uncertain of a way to get third shift with that schedule, but if we can come up with ideas, he will gladly talk about it.
Hey,
Okay.
Arlene, I hate to interrupt.
Sure.
Was he not able to get a hold of anybody? Because I'll be glad to reach out for housekeeping, and Joe's on the call too. We'll be glad to reach out and try to get them to Herb Richmond and see what can be done for the housekeeping staff.
I don't know who he tried to reach out to. If you want to reach out to him, I put his email in the chat.
I see it. I will reach out this afternoon.
Okay.
Thank you, James. Appreciate that. All right. Any questions about Carolina Community Garden? I will just put a plug in for them if you are composting or want to. They do have 2 big trash cans, but they are compost bins. So if you save your vegetable scraps, coffee grounds and filters, tea bags, you can take them anytime really and dump them in the bins there. It's something I started doing. And so it's really quite nice to have compostable items in my house, no longer going to the landfill. So I just wanted to put a plug in for that. Next, I'd like to turn it over to Allie Wardell and Teresa Silsby to talk about the fabulous UNC Children's Hospital toy drive that they managed in December.
Hello. Yes, we had our first UNC Children's Toy Drive in person with in-person bins since we went completely online for COVID. And I'll call it a huge success. So a huge thank you to everyone who donated and hosted bins and helped organize that. We ended up with 2 like mid-size SUV cars completely filled to the brim with toys that we delivered to the hospital before Christmas time. Also, the Amazon wish list from the hospital was out in circulation. I can't really track what was donated through there. But barring any donations from Amazon, we had a ton of toys and it was awesome. I will likely share some photos with our community service committee when I get them from my phone to my computer at our monthly meeting this week. So huge thank you to everybody who participated and the community service committee for helping plan that and get that all organized. And also with respect to Carolina Covered and the garden, Arlene, keep me in the loop with that as well, because we've been in contact with their Carolina Covered student leaders, trying to sort out if the kind of satellite areas for Carolina Covered are available to faculty, staff, et cetera, as well. So if we can all work together on that, just keep me in the loop there as well.
Sure thing.
Hey, Rebecca, this is Teresa.
Yes.
I just wanted to add to this that Allie is the 100% superstar of this effort for the toy drive, because unfortunately I have been under the weather basically from the beginning to the end. So she did most of this and she deserves all 100% of the credit of this drive. So I just want to put that out there for her because she deserves it.
Thank you, Teresa. Appreciate that. And I appreciate both of you guys. I did get to see the Subaru full of bins and toys. It was impressive. And it really made my day.
Huge team effort.
Yeah. And if you could also share the photos with the communications team, I think that'd be great to have in the next In Touch newsletter.
Yes, we'll do.
Awesome.
He
some good
showed
news.
up with pre-decorated boxes at bioinformatics first thing in the morning. Go, Allie.
That she did. Awesome. All right. The next awesome thing that we did last December was the Holiday Carolina Blood Drive. So Renata and Katie, take it away.
Hi, everyone. As you guys should have known, the blood drive was back on December 10th. So hopefully you guys were there donating or volunteering. We were able to collect 298 units of blood, which means we will hopefully help save up to 900 lives. We had over 341 donors appear that day, so it was a really great turnout. Hopefully our next blood drive, which is April 28th at the Smith Center, will be even bigger and better. So put that on your calendars, come out, volunteer, donate. It's normally a great day. We have a ton of free food. I play a great playlist. So
Yes,
just
you
let us know
do.
if you guys if you guys want, there are always spots on the committee open, so reach out to me if you are interested. But big success and thank you all for your participation.
And I will say it's a lot of fun when you do donate, if you're able to donate. I noticed Shauna mentioned it, and the same is true for me. You get email updates where your blood is going and how many lives it has touched. And that's always kind of a nice, uplifting email to see. Sure beats all of the here, buy this or buy that, or take out this loan emails that I always get. So,
Yeah. And occasionally the Red Cross will send Amazon gift cards. So that's always a good email.
I gotta go check those again.
Yeah, just be on the lookout. We do have a couple of giveaways that were given out to donors that came to the drive. So it's all around a fun event. This one was a little bit more exciting than others. We had a couple of things happen that were
Yes.
outside the norm, but we just kept it going. So it was really great. It was wonderful. The weather wasn't that bad. Parking wasn't that bad. So all over success.
It definitely was. Thank you for all that coordination. All right. Next, leadership and career development.
Hi, y'all. Just an update that the professional development grant notifications are going to be delayed because I just thought I would get stuff done over Christmas break, and that,
Understood,
and I
100%.
took the time off instead. So, I think I would love if there were a couple more folks who wanted to read applications. If you're interested, just send me a note, and I will try very hard to get that stuff out today or at the least on Monday. And if you have folks who are asking you, please just apologize for me and say that we will have their decisions out as soon as possible. And then Matt, thanks. I will send you an email to try and ask you to just put an update on the website, perhaps on the PDG page, to just let people know that the notifications are just going to be a little bit behind this year. But anyways, if you want to review, please just let me know. Thank you so much.
And Stephanie Morales is volunteering. She's got her information in the chat for you. Awesome. And then sustainability. I know, Elizabeth, that you posted the update in the chat for folks to read. Would you like to just kind of recap that for us?
Let me recap and also say that that's not all there was to say about it. They would like to have, they're thinking about a couple of dates they could come and give a brief presentation to Employee Forum. And then anybody that wants to sign up for the orientation sessions that they offer can express their interest at that time. So what I want to let Melanie know is, are there a couple of dates on the Employee Forum schedule that we might have them be the guest presenters?
Next month would work for us.
Cool. So let's offer them a couple of dates next month and maybe the month after that.
Sure.
So they can get it on their schedule. And they do, from what I've participated in listening in on so far, they intersect with many of the topics that come up here about like community resources, sharing green strategies, but also keeping trash out of the waste stream, repurposing, making resources available to people, meals, recyclable containers for on-campus restaurants. things of that nature that we do talk about sometimes, and this is a good intersection point, and there could be others, so let's find out about it. Rebecca, if you want me to give them the next 2 meetings as an option, what
Sure.
time? I mean, it'd be great if they came and just listened in so they know what we do, but about what time would they be expected to schmooze?
Yeah, I'll have to, we can talk offline about the time, and figure that one out. I haven't looked at the agenda for next month and March yet.
Okay, cool. But I'll let them know it's probably a Friday morning, probably the first Friday or second Friday morning.
Yeah, it's going to be March 12th or, oh, sorry, no, that's not the date, wrong date. February 6th and March 6th.
Okay, and
Same
March
time, same bat channel.
and hopefully we'll have more up-to-date information about where they could meet us in person. And I'd love if they could meet us in person, but they can Zoom in if that's not possible.
Yep, either one is fine.
Everybody, okay, I'll let them know. Thanks.
Thank you. All right. Any other updates or old business?
Oh, wait, one more thing. I know a
Yes.
big question for sustainability was AI. Let me just say, like we've heard from leadership a lot today, they're working on it. They'll let us know. No, there is a subgroup working on this, but I don't think that they get to the heavy hitting questions we've had about evaluating exactly what the environmental impact is of AI. But they do have people, they have a team. Yeah.
Great, thank you. All right. So new business, does anybody have any highlights or kudos they'd like to share? I know we've had a few throughout the meeting, but if anybody has anything, feel free. I know I do appreciate Teresa, despite not feeling great, joining us for the parade with her significant other and her significant pup. It was a lot of fun. We were towards the front of the parade, so we finished up early, which was quite nice. And this time we walked from Carborough to Chapel Hill, so finished up right at South Columbia. But it was a lot of fun, a lot of folks along the sidewalks. And we had Ramsey's getting everybody riled up as we went through the crowd. So that was a lot of
So,
fun.
Rebecca, I
Yeah.
need to share with you when we were walking back to my car, we encountered a Duke fan who posted on us, came walking up. He was an elderly gentleman, grabbed his pants leg and yanked it up to show us his Duke socks that he had on. So we had a good laugh over that. And
That's
then
cute.
we went on down the street, and the next thing you know, he came chasing after us to give us apple pies for the best costumes of the parade.
Aw, that's very sweet. I love it. Your outfits were very cute. They were onesie pajamas, I do believe, with hoods. So great times.
Thanks.
Yeah. Natasha?
I have a general announcement, if that's okay. It's not like
Sure.
I just wanted to get it on folks' radar that 2026 is getting into a midterm election year. And so even though it's January, just wanted to throw out there that the primary for midterm elections is coming up on March 3rd. And the voter registration deadline is February 6th at 5 p.m. So that is actually coming up soon if you need to update or change your voter registration and want to do so before early voting in person. I'll go ahead and drop a link to the timeline on the North Carolina Board of Elections website, but just wanted to get that on folks' radar.
Thank you very much. I did not realize that registration deadline was that soon for the primary. So thank you. Which that deadline is the same day as our next meeting. So feel free to put that on your radar to remind us to do that before the end of the day at our next meeting.
Yeah, and I do, myself and Sarah Smith do a lot of work with nonpartisan voter engagement on campus. And so if anyone ever has questions, like don't hesitate to reach out. And I'm sure you'll be hearing us yap about voting-based things in the near future.
Excellent. All right. The next thing that we have is a resolution. I will need a motion to move us into closed session because this is something that, well, needs to be discussed in closed session.
I move. This is Eliza.
Second,
Thank you.
James.
Thank you. Is there any opposition to moving to closed session? Seeing none, I'll go ahead and have Matt move us into closed session. And those of you who are not delegates, you can hang out here in the main room, or if you need to jump off to other things, we understand that as well, but we will be back as soon as we finish our closed session. Thank you all.
Matt, I will get you, after this meeting, I will send you the minutes from the closed session.
Rebecca, you're muted.
Thank you. Thank you all for hanging out here. If you were not in the closed session, we were able to approve a resolution 2601, Carolina Family Scholarship renaming. And so Annetta has volunteered to read this resolution, so you do not need to listen to a frog. So Annetta, I'll let you take it away.
Resolution 2601, honoring
Okay.
the late.
Annetta, adjust your volume. We can barely hear you.
Resolution 2601, honoring the late Bruce Egan, founder of the Carolina Family Scholarship Fund, and Charles Streeter, Forum Chair, who effectuated continuance of the scholarships upon Egan's retirement. Resolution of the Employee Forum, the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, January 9th, 2026. Whereas it is appropriate and fitting for the Employee Forum to recognize individuals who have distinguished themselves in service to the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill community and to encourage similar contributions among other members of the community. And whereas when the accomplishments of two individuals are combined with effective and lasting advocacy for the entirety of staff and faculty over a period of over 20 years, and whereas the late Bruce Egan, director of the ITS Response Center until his retirement, was the initial creator and founder of the university's Carolina Family Scholarship Fund in 2004 and secured $320,000 from then Chancellor James Measer, followed by an additional $20,000 from Chancellor Holden Thorpe, enough to endow the fund. And whereas Mr. Egan was lead administrator of the Carolina Family Scholarships through 2015, served the university in an exemplary fashion through his administration of the scholarships for those 11 years, which provides $2,000 per year for up to 4 years of study for each of its recipients. And whereas Charles Streeter, Employee Forum Chair from 2013 to 2017, responded to Mr. Egan's call for continued administration and fundraising for the scholarship fund, leading to the Employee Forum's commitment to administer the award selection process and distribution beginning in 2015. And whereas the Carolina Family Scholarships has aided nearly 200 children of university staff and faculty since its establishment in 2004, granting $560,000 over the past 21 years. And whereas the Carolina Family Scholarships represent a unique means for hardworking university staff and faculty to send their children to any UNC system institution or North Carolina Community College. Therefore, be it resolved that the Employee Forum respectfully requests the university change the currently named Carolina Family Scholarships to the Egan Streeter Carolina Family Scholarships in all its fundraising, publications, and materials, and be it therefore resolved that the Employee Forum hereby extends its heartfelt thanks and well wishes to Mr. Streeter and the family of Mr. Egan for their lasting contributions to university employee welfare. Signed on behalf of the delegates of the Employee Forum, Rebecca Howell, Chair.
Thank you, Annetta. Appreciate that. And my thanks to all for your support of that resolution. Matt Banks, if you will help me reach out to the Egan family, and we can reach out to Charles Streeter as well to let them know about the renaming of this. And then we will send this on to the Chancellor's office. Ellie, let me know what you need from me in order to help effectuate the change in all of the communications and everything.
Okay. I think
Charles
once
is here. He just doesn't have his name spelled correctly, but he's here.
Oh, Charles. Well,
maybe not actually at his computer.
I see his name.
Yeah. I think just let me know, Rebecca, as soon as when you know, and then we'll go.
Okay. Yeah, definitely. Matt and I work on that early next week. All righty. Yes, today. Okay. Are there any additional announcements or questions in our last 9 minutes? All right. Well, you guys have very patient with a very full meeting, so thank you very much. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Well, we got a few. And I think I heard a second, third, and a fourth. Are there any objections to adjourning? If not, we consider ourselves adjourned, and I look forward to seeing you all in the next few weeks about campus. And at our next meeting, that will be a hybrid meeting, and hopefully I will sound like a human and not a frog. Have a great weekend, all.
Have a good weekend.